Hey, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to do the last section of notes in Module 5 on ancient Greece. I know that in your text you have 6 sections, but I'm going to kind of incorporate the last 2 into one section of notes. Okay, you'll only have to do one of the activities. Like 5-5 activity. You'll do that tomorrow. So that means that on Thursday you'll have a vocabulary quiz. On Friday we will have a study guide for your test that'll be on Monday. Regardless of whether we're here or you're home or whatever, your test will be on Monday and your vocabulary quiz will be on Thursday. So, as always, if you have questions, don't hesitate to contact me on um, however you want. You can call the school, you can send me an email, send me a message through Schoology. If you need to talk to me in person, we'll do a one-on-one Teams meeting. Whatever you need from me, I'll be happy to help you. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the last section on ancient Greece. Okay, so when last we left, we talked about Alexander the Great and how he forged one of the largest empires that existed, and it expanded all the way out from where he was in Macedonia in northern Greece, all the way as far east as India and as far south as Egypt. But Alexander the Great wasn't the type of leader that when he conquered an area that he completely eradicated all traces of their culture. He simply added to the culture that existed there. And as a result of that, a new culture emerges, and it's called Hellenistic. So the Hellenistic era is the era after Alexander the Great, which blends together ideas from Greece, because that's what the ideas that he spread, into Persian culture and Egyptian culture and Indian culture. And when all of these cultures intermingle and combine through Alexander's efforts, where he united all of these places together, it creates Hellenistic culture. That's what it's called, okay? So a lot of these advances had to do in things like math, science, and these advancements in civilization, they happened because of the blending. So what we're going to look at today is some of the scientific advancements that occurred as a result of Alexander's conquering and the spreading of Greek knowledge and Greek learning into other cultures, which ultimately creates a Hellenistic culture. Okay, so first we'll look at a gentleman named Aristarchus. Aristarchus is a Greek, and he came up with the theory that the sun is the center of the galaxy. Now, he's not entirely correct that the sun is the center of the galaxy, but it is the center of our solar system. He also came up with the idea that the Earth revolves around the sun and not everything around the Earth. So he was pretty. He's really wrong, but in terms of people thinking, that the Earth is static, meaning it doesn't move and everything revolves around it, which was kind of the prevailing thought at the time. And a lot of his contemporaries were like, well, the sun is pulled across the sky by Apollo. So he's definitely using science and rational thought to come up with some new ideas on the way the natural world works. So, Aristarchus' theory, the sun is the center of the galaxy and the Earth revolves around it, and that the sun was about 300 times larger than the Earth. Well, it's significantly larger. It's more than 300 times. I'm not entirely sure, but he was on the right path. And this is, you have to figure this is thousands of years ago that they're coming up with these types of thought. All right, another Greek philosopher who was a scientist was Eratosthenes. And Eratosthenes, he calculated the Earth's circumference. Now, what that means is he was able to determine the distance all the way around the Earth. So, he's doing this thousands of years ago. So he uses astronomy, he uses math, and he was very close. He was able to calculate the Earth's circumference within 185 miles. You have to think, guys. This is a guy who never left Greece, who never really even knew that there was another half of the world, like where we live. He didn't even know that existed. So I want you to put out of your mind the idea that Christopher Columbus thought the Earth was flat. or some people today, I mean, they're just wrong. Eratosthenes knew it thousands of years ago that the Earth was round. In fact, he was able to calculate it using math that fairly accurately within 185 miles. So very very far advanced of his time. He knew that it was roughly about 24,860 miles in circumference. Okay. Euclid. Many of you guys would love Euclid because he invents your favorite math subject in geometry, plane geometry. Well, in fact, I think what you guys study when you study geometry is plane geometry or Euclidean geometry, named after Euclid. It's a very helpful form of math that deals with distance and spatial awareness, and he's in the forefront of that mathematical movement. Archimedes. Archimedes is probably one of my favorite of the Hellenistic era thinkers. He was an inventor, and he invented all kinds of things. Some were successful, some were not. But one of the things he created is called the Archimedes screw. You can see it here on the left. This is one you can make in your house. Now his was much larger because it was intended for pumping water uphill, because you can put this corkscrew in a tube and turn this crank, and it'll pump the water from the bottom all the way to the top as long as you are turning the crank. So it's called the Archimedes screw. He had to use science and some engineering to accomplish this feat, and it was a real game changer. Imagine, if you lived on a hill, you could do large-scale agriculture there. Bringing, you don't have to carry your water around, so that's good. He also made a variety of military inventions. This one, there's not a lot of evidence as to whether or not it was accurate, but basically he polished up a lot of silver sheets, like sheets of large, like put a mirror finish on a sheet of silver, and he would have people, like hundreds of them, stand out in the sun, and believe that the reflection from the sun off of the polished silver, if they all focused their beams onto ships at sea, that it would catch the ships on fire. Not a lot of evidence as to whether or not this is even possible, but it's the same principle and theory of like burning ants with a magnifying glass. Okay, so Archimedes pretty famous for his military inventions. In fact, he was captured several times by many different groups of people who wanted to basically enslave him and make him come up with military inventions for their people. So he was really on the forefront of thinking and inventing. All right. So that's some science. Now, some philosophies that emerge out of the Hellenistic era. There's a couple. One is called Stoicism. Stoicism, and it was created by a philosopher named Zeno. Now, Stoicism is all about finding happiness by living in harmony, and which is like inner peace with the laws that nature that created, that God created even. So, he's not out to say that you got to think what Greek religion was before he's saying these things is that it's raining because Zeus is mad, or the earthquake happened because Poseidon wanted to make it happen. Okay, he's using rational thought. Now he's saying there's certain things that we can know, and there's certain things that we can't know. So the things that we can know, we need to live in peace with those. Really, live in harmony. Try to find peace with your surroundings. That's what Stoicism was. We're not going to have too much extremes. We're not going to be too happy. We're not going to be too sad. We're going to find the sweet spot right in the middle and live in harmony. Okay. So that's Stoicism, created by Zeno. The last one is called Epicureanism. Epicureanism, and it was created by Epicurus. Now his was a little, I have "don't worry, be happy" there, and that's a very simplistic way of putting it. But he taught that the gods, the Greek gods, had no interest in human beings' behavior and what humans did, and he believed the only way, the greatest good that you can find on earth, is to avoid pain, avoid anxiety, and find pleasure. Just do what makes you happy. That's really kind of what Epicureanism is all about. That the goal of your goal of life should not be to, be moral or to honor the gods or do sacrifices. Your goal should be to find happiness. So that's what Epicureanism is, and it's kind of a dangerous school of thought because what makes one person happy might cause another person a lot of anguish. So, but these are two ideas of thought. Epicureanism is certainly influenced by Buddhism. And that's what you see here when we have this blending of cultures from India, which is where Buddhism's from. And Buddhism says, that life is suffering, and to avoid suffering, you have to, do these certain things, follow the Eightfold Path and the Four Noble Truths. So he kind of incorporates that into his philosophy. Like, there's going to be pain, there's going to be suffering, and your goal is to try to avoid it. And that's what Epicurus taught in his philosophical beliefs in Epicureanism. Okay, so not a very long section of notes today. So go ahead and just remember that you got a vocabulary quiz coming, and you have a module test on Monday. And like I said, anything you need from me, I'm here. I'll help you out anytime I can. Even if I'm at home in the evenings, if you send me a Schoology message, I'll try to write you back as best I can. I'm here to help you. So, like I said, anything you need, just let me know. Have a great day.